And you know what time it is? It's chasing gazillions. Ain't the same as making millions. Wednesdays with Fernando and Anthony, season 2, episode 1. Happy holidays.
It's become a
Happy New Year.
portfolio. At this point, 2 seasons. It could be on Netflix. Oh,
Happy
good to
holiday.
be back.
Happy New Year's to everybody.
Yep.
We
Happy New
all
Year.
here. Let me just jump right away and deal with the elephant in the room. Yes, this is a new look for a brother here in 2023. All clean completely. Cause
Not
cause
liking
I
it.
don't know. Cause I could.
We're
You
gonna
know,
have
you
to
know,
get
it's sort of like having a tattoo. I,
Yep.
I just here's the truth. All of last year, I was giving wolf tickets to my wife Melinda, saying, "You know what? I think I want to try it out and see what it feels like to be all bald. I just want to try it." And she was looking at me sideways and all. And then, right before my birthday, December 12th, right before it, I said, "Yeah, I'm thinking I might." And she was like, "Hey, I ain't gonna keep having you yammering at me about it now. Be about it or not."
Own it.
so so I went on to the barber and I told him, "Hey man, let's make it happen. All of it all for the birthday." And I'm learning. I'm learning. So far, I have to shave now every 2 days because at the end of 2 days, man, it itches like the Dickens, whatever the Dickens is.
I'm
With the
learning that
hair.
what your baby picture must have looked like. You look like a little baby now. And now we're gonna have to change the picture on the logo. Another problem. I'm looking at logistically, it's a problem for us. I can get out my baby picture too. We can put the baby pictures up if you'd like.
Next time. Hey man, how's the holidays for you? I know you've had some challenges, your
Ah,
mom, your family,
yeah,
travel, airlines. I mean, they really tried to put a dent in Where's Waldo when you're traveling.
they did. They did. They try to shut me down, but nothing shuts down Team P. When they
No,
shut us down, rented a car and drove down to FLA.
that's right.
Straight through, 18 hours, 5 drivers. We gutted it out. It was not easy. It was, we probably should have died somewhere along the way. I mean, we were all falling asleep behind the wheel, going 80, 85 miles an hour. The highways were packed,
Yeah,
trucks, other families trying to get down to Florida to feel some sunshine. Weather there was spectacular. We had a really nice time when we got there.
yeah.
Daughter got COVID 2 days in, which kind of shut down our entertainment value for other families down there. Nobody wanted to be with us. But we went to the beach every day as a family and had a really nice time together. Had some really nice meals,
Yeah.
um, and just enjoyed family time for the week. And we flew back, and our airline was not. It was delayed 2 hours on the way back, but we got home safely.
Yeah.
And the one thing. I mean, I'm a big Southwest guy. That's all I fly, and I
Oh, okay.
fly probably 40 times a year. Right, not 40 trips, but 20 trips
Yeah,
each way.
that's right.
And I am shocked that they didn't tell me that my flight was canceled. I never got it. I checked it myself and realized it was canceled. I never got any notification, which is really upsetting. But what are you gonna do, man? They crapped themselves basically.
They did.
But they came back though and redeemed themselves. Gave us a bunch of points. Gave us a bunch of vouchers. Paid for all the rent a car and all my expenses to drive down there. So they brought it back some, and I like them because out of Baltimore, you can get pretty much anywhere one way on Southwest.
Yeah.
Not some of the small cities, but any of the major cities, no problem getting there one way. And I don't like layovers, man. They
But
they
you know
make
what though? I was just recently reading a book on Start With Why. I can't think of the author's name. It's Start With Why. And one of the points that he was making about branding and the logos of these big businesses is that, they have a culture that, identifies them, and those who like it identify with them. Like they say, the people who, wear Harley tattoos, they like Harley, whether or not they own a Harley or any of that. Right? It's they connect with the imagery and the branding of that company. And interestingly enough, they were talking about how Southwest, with its open seating, speaks to a classless, environment. We don't have class, first class, second class, upper, all of that. And so, as you were talking about being a little disappointed in what they did, I'm thinking maybe your expectations are a little too high, dude. You ain't getting first class at Southwest. And the fact that they didn't give you notice, that's what I get when I fly. I get notifications because I fly first class.
Right.
But if
So
you're in
here's
a if you're in
right.
a Southwest where they are open and free, and why are you
That's
even
not
expecting a notification?
because I'm one of their loyal like A list guys. So you
Yeah,
would
but
think
they don't have an A list. That's
they
the
do.
point about
They
Southwest.
do. No, they
They,
do.
they
It's like
do?
I check in. I don't even have to check in. They check in for me. A day before, they do all the
But
check-in.
that's for everybody, right?
No, man. No, 24 hours
So you
before.
all do have
You have to get online and check in to get your priority when you get on the plane. I don't have to do that. They do it for me. And I'm always in the top 20 seats on the plane. So I always get
I didn't know. I thought it was just like you buy a ticket and then it's like a
no.
cattle herd. You just
Not once you move up the scales. I mean, I'm not
so
at the
there is a
top.
class. There is a class system. So I guess
There
the
is for
Southwest culture
business
has
travelers.
changed a little.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, there is.
look. Hey, let us jump into it. Uh,
Let's go.
we today. This is season 2. Everybody, chasing gazillions, not the same as making millions. Wednesdays with Fernando and Anthony. This is season 2, episode 1. Our first episode of the new year 2023, and we wanted to start off uh, the new year, the new season, our second season, with where we ended, with our number one fan, our number one supporter from season 1. Here's an individual who uh, was on, what was it, all 40 episodes? Was it
You
40
didn't miss
episodes?
many. Yeah, I don't think you missed any.
No. He didn't miss any. He was always there. He was always in the chat box.
Yeah.
He was always commenting on the quality of the guests we brought on, the information that we would provide. So we decided that we would start the new season still focused on real estate, but we wanted to look at real estate. We're going to be sharing with you a different aspect of real estate. This is going to be a wilderness survival, out in the wilderness, that real estate, not the urban setting, but
Right.
out in the wilderness. If you are lost or trapped, or find yourself uh, injured somewhere in a mountain, you're on one of those fancy wooded trips, or somehow you get separated, what would you do? And today we're going to bring to you all our number one fan from season 1, the Virginia Bushcrafter. All right.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Fernando. Thank you
You
for
are,
having me. It's a
you are,
pleasure. I've been
thank
looking
you.
forward to it. So, and I like I said, I've enjoyed every one of your episodes. You guys provide such great information. I mean, I look forward to it every Wednesday at 7:00 every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday. That's right. We love it. Well, we're happy. We're excited. In season 1, uh, Interesting thing. The Virginia Bushcrafter came on. It was in the chat, and we'd always give comments. But for most of the season, 40 episodes, for about 35 episodes or so, we didn't know who he was. You know, if he was a man, a woman, it was black, white. We didn't know. It was just, okay, the Virginia Bushcrafter. And then when we decided to invite him on to our last show from last season, in honor of his support of us, we gave him the date, and then he sent me an email to confirm the show and the time. And when he sent it to me, I saw the name. His actual name is Stephen Netherly. And I looked at it and I was like, Stephen Netherly? I was expecting something from the Virginia Bushcrafter. And I say to myself, why is Stephen Netherly sending me something talking about what time should he get ready to come on the show? And I'm like, what show? What is he talking about? And then I reconciled it. And it turns out, everybody, that the Virginia Bushcrafter, who is Stephen Netherly, also turns out to be an individual who I hired 10 years ago at the General Services Administration. I served for 15 years as a contracting officer. And I hired Stephen Netherly as a realty specialist to come work on our team. And so I was stunned, right? I mean, and the more I've thought about it over the holiday break, Steve, you are watching the program and it's me.
Exactly.
But I don't know it's you. But I love that we were providing something that you found interesting. And also, this show is about you. Tell everybody about the Virginia Bushcrafter, about bushcrafting, what it's like, how it could save your life one day. Hey, Steve, talk to us.
Sure. Thank you.
Hey, Steve, before you start, John Wright's on there, our second best fan.
Hello, John.
Just keep up the good work, boy.
Keep up the work, boys. Season 2. There he is.
Yeah.
John Wright, everybody. We are picking up a fan base. That's how it starts. Just a couple embers. And then
then we have 2 embers. All right, Stephen, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, before I start, I just want to tell you, I have to mention this about the interview I had with Jesse and Anthony. And I think it was a panel of about 5 people. And I remember when I went to that interview, Anthony was asking me some very, very tough questions.
That's what he does.
I think the interview was about an hour long.
Did he yell at you?
No, he did not. But he was asking some very, very tough questions.
Oh, yeah.
After the interview, I walked to the subway, LaFont Plaza. I wanted to make sure I was out of sight. And I just shook my head and said, I know I did not get that job. But surprisingly, it turned out very well. Thank you, Anthony. And I appreciate it.
You are welcome, Steve.
Yeah, that was a tough one. But getting into the bushcrafting, it is more or less something I enjoy, something I look at as a sport. It is something that is family oriented. It is connecting with nature. And I encourage as many people as possible to reconnect with nature and just get out there and have fun. My channel is the Virginia Bushcrafter, and it deals with learning and practicing bushcrafting, prepping, and survival skills. Now, that's a mouthful, and I really don't say that just as rhetoric. But starting off, there are a lot of places in the state of Virginia that you can go and have these type of activities. There are about 38 of them. I've been to about 3 of them. The first one that is closest to me is C.F. Phelps Wildlife Management Area, which is located in Fauquier County and Culpeper. The second one that I go to is called Mattapony, and it is located in Caroline County, which is in Woodford, Virginia. And the third one that I frequent is Pettigrew, which is also in Caroline County, and it is near a base called Fort A.P. Hill. All of these offer very nice trails. You can actually hunt there, you can trap, you can fish there, and it's just they're nice, peaceful, beautiful areas. The smell of nature is just wonderful. So when I go to bushcraft, my main priority is setting up a shelter. Now, when it comes to setting up a shelter, I try to be as primitive as I can, and I use tarps.
Wait,
And
wait, 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 wait. You don't use like cinder block and brick?
no cinder blocks,
That's the kind of
no.
shelter I like, with a big H for Hilton on the building.
But those are available at some locations. You can
Very
rent a
nice.
cabin, so that is available. But I try to remain as primitive as possible, and I will build shelters using tarps and natural materials, just wood, grass, and leaves, and so forth. And once I get a shelter built, my next objective is actually prepping. Now, a lot of times you hear people say prepping and they want to immediately think of fear mongering and so forth. But prepping is just preparing yourself to avoid catastrophes. So I know that I'm going to be in the woods for a long time, at least overnight. I'm going to harvest a lot of wood because wood is going to provide you with a fantastic fire. That fire is going to add warmth, it's going to security, it's going to keep predators away, and it's just surreal. Um, when out there harvesting all of this wood, sometimes it would take me 4 hours or more just to harvest the wood. I look at the fire as being being the most important thing. Just like a bicycle has a hub, everything is connected to the hub. The spokes, the rims, and the wheels are all connected to the hub.
Yeah.
Well, when it comes to bushcrafting, everything to me is connected to the fire. I make all the arrangements for the fire. The fire
And
is going to
you
allow
cook
me,
with it too, right?
I
You cook
cook
with the
with it,
fire. Yeah.
I cook with it, I purify my water, I filter my water, I boil my water. Um,
Steve, let me jump in here. Hold on. This thing
Here
called
we go. Here we go. Interview all over again.
this thing called bushcrafting.
yes,
Bushcraft.
yes,
You're saying that is, in your opinion, a sport, akin to a sport,
yes,
and
yes,
that the basis of this sport is to go out into nature, to the wilderness,
yes,
and for you like to go as you say, as primitive as possible. You're out here with a tarp because you're planning to be out there at least overnight.
yes,
And then you're saying, while I'm out here in this nature, in this wooded area, I got a tarp. And now you're saying I'm harvesting as much wood as possible because it's the hub of this sporting activity. And I'm thinking to myself, are you out there with a chainsaw? Dude, how are you
no.
cutting down all this wood?
I carry, it is called your cutting tools. My cutting tools consist of a hatchet, a knife, and a saw at a minimum. Now, with a hatchet, I can chop, I can carve. Um, it's also self protection. The knife is more or less for slicing, carving as well. But the saw is, to me, is the most effective way to harvest wood because you're going to burn less calories. Now, when I go out there,
I'm gonna burn less calories because
less
I'm
calories.
looking to burn a lot of calories
You
personally.
don't like that. You
Well,
don't like
you're
that.
going to burn a lot of calories either way, but sawing to me seems to be much more efficient. So when I go out there, I carry a hatchet. Now there's a difference between a hatchet and an axe. The hatchet is more portable. It's usually 13 inches or smaller, whereas an axe is usually 26 inches, at least 26 inches. And an axe is more so used when you are homesteading, when you live on the land. So I carry the hatchet because it's portable. The knives that I carry can range from 4 inches, which 4 inches and less, I consider a small knife. Anything from 5 to 7 inches is considered a medium knife. Anything from 7 to 10 is considered a large knife. So I will always bring a hatchet, a large knife, and a small knife, and a saw, as well as a backup saw, which is called a commando saw, which is basically, yeah, you have two little gadgets on the end,
Yeah.
and it's a little chainsaw. So my theory is that, especially when you are alone, one of anything equals zero, and two equals one. So that is some of my rules when I go into the bush. Also, when I go into the bush, I carry two telephones, a backup telephone as well as my regular telephone, and three solar packs, so that I can always maintain communication. If one goes out, I can use the other. I'm always able to call someone. But the most important thing is to always have a notepad that you can give your personal information, and you keep that on you somewhere in your cargo pocket. If something is to happen, the game warden will more than likely know to search your pockets, where there will be a note saying, call my brother at this number. Call this person. This is where I am. When I get to a location, I call a person and tell them I have arrived here safely. I will call you at this time, and tomorrow I will call you at this time. If I
You
don't
give me your
call,
coordinates. You give me your coordinates where you're at, so they
you
can
know,
spot you.
I do. I basically give the address. Now, honestly, I'm not that well versed at using a compass as of yet, but I think every bushcrafter should be able to efficiently use a compass as well as a topo map. A bushcrafter should know their destination before they leave their residence, because bushcrafting is actually going out to explore nature. Whereas if you're camping, camping is more of a leisure thing. So bushcrafting is very easy to get turned around. Now, I am doing studying with a compass, and I am going to take a course specifically to learn how to efficiently read a topo map. So those are some important tools to have with you when you are in the bush.
Now,
So
Steve, you just mentioned though something that's got what little hair I got left standing up, and that is, um, you know, be prepared. Notes for people who find you. You mentioned about a fire to keep away predators.
Anthony's scared
Uh,
right now. He's scared.
I am scared. I am scared.
Yeah,
And I'm saying
I know.
we went from it being a sport, outdoors, nature, smelling fresh air and all, to our bears coming to get me. And, am I trapped out here? Uh, you know, we, Talk to me about these wildlife preserves and what kind of predators one might encounter.
Well, at most, believe it or not, I have not encountered any type of wildlife, uh, even though I have seen tracks. Because when I go there, I make it a point not to camp on a game trail where they travel. However, I have heard bucks at about 3 o'clock in the morning. Now, the thing with, well, let me just say this back up about a sport. Just like a basketball team or a football team or swimmers practice, bushcrafting is a sport, and you can practice at home, in your garage, in your backyard, but ultimately you have to go into the bush and apply what you learn.
On the
That's
game
why
field, the playing
the
field.
mot- yes, that's why I say the motto of my channel is learn and practice. You must go into the bush to find out what you know, how it works, why it works. And the thing about it, every time you go into the bush, you will learn, find out, or recognize things that you don't know. For an example, I have a lot of clothing. I'm prepared to go in any type of weather. But the last time I was out, what I learned is how difficult it really is to tie knots with gloves, and why some people wear gloves with no fingertips. They don't have any fingertips. So it took being in the cold to learn that. But as far as bears, what I do when I go into the bush, I wear
Bears?
cowbells. I wear cowbells or fish bells on the strap of my rucksack. And sometimes I would just talk to myself, because when wild animals recognize that a human is coming into the bush, they will more than likely go the other way. So I
That's true.
continuously make noise. Sometimes I will sing to myself, and I sound pretty good. and
Oh, I bet you do. Oh, I bet you do.
and I would sometimes play a radio. So that and the thing is, with building the fire, when they smell smoke, they have a natural tendency to know that there is a person there, and they stay away.
Okay.
So
Do
that's
you
what,
hunt for your own food, Steve?
well, I have not foraged for my own food. The longest I have stayed in the bush is 2.5 days. And on those 2.5 days, I was with two other guys. But my philosophy is that when you go into the bush, and if you're going to be there 2 days, you want to carry enough food, freeze dry food, something of that nature, that is, you have enough food for 2.5 days. But when you get down to one day of food, that is the time to start foraging your food, because you don't want to run out of food. So and with me being a vegetarian, I really have to study and learn about the plants. I've been doing this. January 29th will make 1 year, and I'm very surprised at the things that I have learned, and I'm
Mhm.
more surprised of the things that I have to learn. So foraging is one of my goals. I'm going to focus on, as well as navigation. I'm very surprised of the many people that are not very fluent in using a compass. But I've been using a compass, and I've also have a GPS system. What I have learned, anything that is man-made, there is a tendency at some point it will fail. I have gone up in the mountains sometimes, so far up in the mountains, that my GPS system, I could not get a signal. The way I
Up in the
found my
mountains,
way,
I thought the GPS signal came from the satellite up in the sky.
I did too. But I was up, and it was a lot of snow. And I was at a location called Rapidan Wildlife Management Area, which is in Standardville, Virginia, Greene County, Madison, next to the Blue Ridge. My GPS system, I could not get a signal, but I managed to follow my footprint in the snow all the way back down to the road.
Wow.
So things
So
like
now,
that can
Steve,
happen.
you mentioned that you've been out with a couple other people.
Yes.
We have your information up. You know, uh, I understand you're not a guide, but are people welcome to join you on these other exploratory bushcrafting adventures? Is that something you're open to? Not
I
not that this is not that this is dating and matchmaking on chasing gazillions ain't the same as making millions. Wednesdays with Fernando and Anthony. Okay, that's a little
Is
plug.
there bourbon on this adventure of yours? Do you bring any
You know,
bourbon with you?
if you would liked it, that would be fine. But
Okay.
I welcome anyone who would like to join me, because what I say to people, if this is their first time, we can go into the bush and we don't even have to go so far as to not see the vehicle, so that they can remain comfortable, that if they just had to, they can go back to the vehicle. But what I did, I would start out close to the vehicle, and each time I would go further away until I could not see the vehicle. Now, honestly, the furthest I've been away from my vehicle is maybe 500 yards. And with a rucksack or backpack of about 45 or 50 pounds, it's a trek. But I really would love to have more people experience this, because it is absolute fun. It is a
I'll
challenge.
volunteer Anthony right now. Anthony's in. I'm out. Anthony's in.
No,
I've
I mean,
gone camping though. I've done a bunch of camping with my kids, and I love camping. But this seems a little bit more roughing it than camping.
well, it is, because I've done videos on the difference between bushcrafting and the difference between camping, and there is a difference. And
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons I don't use tents, because that's more related to camping. But I am not opposed to using a tent. I've used a tent once before on a family outing, but I just, one of the most peaceful moments is after you has worked so hard, harvested wood, prepared you a meal, and you can sit there in the dark with a beautiful fire, see the beautiful stars, the crackling and the popping of the fire. You can have that too, but I would just say, just be careful with it. But have the marshmallows, the hot chocolate, and you can sit there and just reflect on things in the past.
Steve, you
Things
paint a
that,
picture that makes my heart leap out, man. I'm excited. I'm looking forward
Hey
to
KB. Hey KB.
that's right, to come out and do it. I've done camping. It
Mhm.
was a fun but horrible experience.
Yeah, one time. Terrible.
One time. It was terrible. I had all the tents and everything. I'm not even going to tell that story here today. But suffice to say, I haven't been back to uh, what is it? Yogi Bears Park,
Okay.
Yogi
Yosemite.
Park, Yellowstone. Maybe it's called Yellowstone.
Yosemite, I think you were at.
Yes.
No, this
Yosemite.
was down. This is down like in Virginia,
Oh
in,
no. Yeah.
Yeah.
something
For,
like that. But
yeah. I mean, there are a lot of places.
it was not. I was scarred. Let's just put it like the whole family was scarred by it. So,
Well,
but you make it sound peaceful and romantic
it is.
and just
Weather's
out.
important though, isn't it, Steve? I mean,
The
weather
weather
is
is important.
crucial.
The weather is important, but strangely enough, the more adverse the weather, the more I look forward to it. And the reason is
That is
because
strange.
as long as you have fire, you're going to be warm. You necessarily don't have to step away from the fire. I sleep maybe 3 feet from the fire, but in all honesty, I don't get much sleep, because the more coals that build up, the more you have to feed the fire. And that's why I spend a lot of time harvesting wood. But, I'm waiting I haven't been out there when there's been a big snow. But one of the things I want to do is actually let it snow and fill my nesting cup up with snow to melt that ice, the snow, and just drink it and have my chocolate. One of the things I did that I really enjoyed was actually sourcing water from a stream and a river, actually filtering the water, purifying the water, and actually using that water to cook and actually show people I am actually consuming the water from nature.
So this isn't Perrier. This isn't Spring Hill water from the mountains. This regular water.
Yes, it is.
River water.
However, when I go into the bush and I know I'm not going to be near water, I will bring almost more than a gallon of water with me. But most of that water is going to be used to properly extinguish the fire, because you can build a fire and you can leave one ember. That ember can stay lit for an entire week and cause a lot of damage. So one of my main objectives is to make sure that the fire is properly extinguished by using water and covering it up using dirt. But I have really, really enjoyed showing people that I am actually consuming water from nature. You know, and the best way, the safest way is to boil your water. If you're at 6,500 feet below that, you want to boil that water at least for 1 minute. Above 6,500 feet, you want to boil it for 3 minutes. However, I always boil it for at least 10 minutes.
Nice. Now, Steve, you mentioned about showing people and bringing them into this sport and bushcrafting. We see that you have a YouTube channel, the Bushcrafter, the Virginia
Yes.
Bushcrafter.
Yes.
What will people find when they come to your site?
When they come to my site, they're going to see 91 videos that I have posted within 1 year. They're going to see me explaining that when I go into the bush, every time I go in, I have a specified goal. They're going to see me shelter build. They're going to see me chop, saw wood. They're going to see me make a chair. They're going to see me build my shelter. They're going to see me cook my food. They're going to see me talking to them at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning and just watching the stars. So I have 91 videos. I have about 10 lives. So they're going to see the tools that I use, the host of knives that I have, the spears that I have. They're going to learn about the equipment. They're going to learn just the lingo of bushcrafting. And they will leave knowing that bushcrafting is not a destination. It's just like real estate, it's a journey. You never stop learning, and you're always looking forward to learning more.
Steve, I hear the passion, man, that you have for bushcrafting, my friend. I am moved by it. I'm inspired. Steve, I want to just thank you, man, for taking the time to come on to our show today and share your love of bushcrafting with our audience. It's like I said, it's just a new area for me. It's a new way of looking at real estate and the land, and it's exciting. And I am going to. I say I'm going to go, but as I'm opening my mouth to say I'm going to go back out here and lay on the ground.
I openly said I'm not going. But I mean, I like camping, but bushcrafting might be a little too much.
It might be. Yeah, but you know what, though? You know what?
They're both fun. They're
You know
both
what?
fun.
Yeah.
Hey, might
Oh,
be a lot of
geez.
new things we're going to do here in 2023. And bushcrafting might be there. But let me ask you one other thing as we come to a close here. You mentioned about all these knives and
Yes.
hatchets and
Yes.
saws. Uh, do you? I mean, I'll just get right to the point. Black man out in the woods with a lot of knives. Do you need a license for this?
You do not. Well, on the wildlife management areas, as long as I have a fishing and hunting license, I'm fine. But anyone else, you don't need a license. You just pay $2, which I never seen them collect the $2. But as far as the knives, I have a plethora of knives from
Okay,
kukri.
plethora is more than two.
Oh, I have approximately maybe 25 knives, but I have that to demonstrate the differences of knives and what each knife is for. Even though you should be able to do all tasks with a knife, which is great, there are knives that perform different tasks better than others. So I just enjoy the caring of the knives, the maintenance of the knives, keeping the knives very sharp because a dull knife is very, very dangerous. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm fascinated with cutting tools. I mean, I just have a passion for, I have knives. I was very hesitant to put them on camera now. I don't know the YouTube rules and so forth, but I have some of the, I think if you have a chance, you look up a knife called Condor King Kukri Machete. That is my favorite knife. And it's a chopper.
That's got 4 names. That sounds like a big knife. 4 names?
It is. It's the blade is 12.6 inches. I mean, it cuts. It serves the purpose of a hatchet. I mean, I've even on there you would see that I have videos on the different grinds of the knife blade. Why there are different grinds: a convex grind, a saber grind, a hollow grind, a chisel grind. They all serve different purposes. But I relate it again. It's just like real estate. It's made of components. You have your appraiser, you have your brokers, you have your seller buyers, lessors, lessees, maps. You know, it's I look at it that way because even when going into the bush, there is something to consider in the site selection. I want to be where there's a lot of wood. I want to be off the game trails. Don't want to be on the widow makers. So you have to go in there and you have to select a good site. You don't want to select a site where limbs are going to fall down on you. So it's very, very interesting. And again, it's dealing with land. I'm always out there looking, saying, I just wish I could purchase some of the land. And I'm just learning about the acreage. The cost of the acreage is just going up and up and up. And the closer you want your acreage to be to water, there's a premium that the price goes up. And
so there is an opportunity here if you're out there in the audience that if you thinking about buying an acre or two so that you can start doing your own bushcrafting, just remember, Fernando and I have over 70 years of real estate experience, and now that we have this new relationship with the Virginia Bushcrafter, we are happy to broker a transaction for you in the wild.
And you know what? That's one of my goals.
I got a Virginia license. I got my Virginia broker's license.
Great. That's something that's one of my main goals.
That is
Do you bring like guns or rifles out there also as well?
I do have a firearm on me at all times, and the firearm is basically it's just a tool. It's
Protection.
a tool. Yes. So yes, I do.
That is wonderful.
To stay properly trained with that as well.
All right. Well, again, ladies and gentlemen, this is Stephen Netherly, the Virginia Bushcrafter. You can see his email right here, his telephone number, and the site for his YouTube channel, the Virginia Bushcrafter, where you can go and see 91 videos that he's produced about this exciting sport, where you can hear you can hear the energy and passion that Steve has for this sport and what he's doing. And he's excited about sharing this opportunity with you, sharing this experience with you. But please give him a call, shoot him an email. We love to hear about your adventures this year with the Virginia Bushcrafter. I'm one toe moving towards it. If I think I'm going to get out there this year, Steve. I'm going to go, and
Wow.
I'm going to.
The big toe or the little toe? Which toe's out
even,
there?
even if it's for just a day trip, even if
I'm thinking a day trip about 50 yards from the car.
that's fine. That's fine. We
He's
all
a
start
screamer,
somewhere.
though. Steve, he's a screamer.
That's
He's gonna
fine.
scare the animals with his yelling. He will scare the animals.
That is fine. That is fine.
Well,
Yeah.
guys, hey, thank you again, Steve, for coming out for
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
episode 1 of Chasing Gazillions. Not the same as making millions.
But you're getting there.
Getting closer in the bush.
In the
Very
bush.
close.
Wednesdays with Fernando and Anthony.
Too close.
And we're so excited and looking forward to seeing you in the chat box this season.
Yes.
Going forward. So
Yes.
thank you again. Fernando, you appear to be at home. I can see Lynn Bias and all in the background. And so that tells me that you are home here. We're happy. Are you going to be away next week?
We have some things planned for the future.
Speaking of next week, guys, we have next week's guest. It's going to be, she's going to kill me. She's an attorney.
We have a bunch of guests already lined up. It's going to be
we got a bunch of guests. I wanted to preview, but I'm drawing a blank right this second.
Yeah,
and that's not good. I need to not draw a blank on.
I know.
On the guests, right?
Yeah.
Do you see her name?
No, I don't see anything.
You don't?
Mm-mm. But we do have some really interesting guests.
Okay, there you go. I tried to give her the shout out here in advance, but we're going to get the notice out. But we have an exciting lineup of guests already because this is season 2.
And the show's morphing from basically it's a real estate show, but we have some local people that are doing very neat things like yourself locally that we want to highlight because this show is becoming a DMV show.
Yes.
And we want to talk about some of them. So we're going to have some other guests that are not necessarily real estate related, but interesting people who want to tell their story on the show.
Yeah,
so
and we love having you on and talking to you and sharing this information with our growing audience. So, Steve, thank you again, my friend.
Thank you.
All the best.
Thank you.
I'm gonna let Fernando. You got the last word.
I'm good.
All right.
Okay. Well, thank you guys. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right.
All
the best.
Good luck in the bush.
All righty.
Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.